I'm excited to share with you my interview with Minkku Battar. Minkku is a postgraduate in economics, a diploma holder in human resources from the UK, and in addition, Minkku has studied under Phyllis Krystal, becoming a certified facilitator for cutting the ties that bind. Minkku is a designer and founder of a fresh and bohemian collection of art, home furnishings, and fashion accessories for men and women that can be found online at Minkse.com. So let's dive into the interview.
So I have Minkku Battar with me. She is, we met at the Women's Economic Forum in New Delhi a few weeks ago, and it's been a great honor to speak with you there and again here. So Minkku, we had a really great conversation, and you told me a lot about your transitions in your early life. And as you know, our focus here is about women in midlife and the transitions that they go through. So I was hoping that you could tell me a little bit about, some of those changes that you first encountered and kind of what you thought midlife was going to be like. Okay, it looks like we have a little technical difficulties here. Let me see if we can get this back. Oh, there she is. Okay. Are you back? Oh, we're still having trouble.
I have no idea. So do we need this, yeah?
It's okay. Sometimes the internet connection is not as strong, and so the video...
India, definitely. India is a little bit of a pain.
Oh, well, I'm out here in the countryside, and it can be a little slow here anyway.
Okay.
So, but please, I was just saying that we met at the World Women's Economic Forum, and we've had some great conversations, and I was hoping that you could share with me a little bit about your transition into midlife and what you learned during that early phase.
Yeah.
Oh dear, it looks like it died again. Let's wait and see if it'll come back. Oh, there you are.
Did you hear me at all?
Unfortunately, I didn't, no.
Okay, so I just wanted to say thank you, Joanne, for connecting with me at the Women Economic Forum and remembering me. And it is my honor to be speaking to you today. Coming back to your question with
Minkku, your hand is covering the camera a little bit.
Yeah. So this is really my first Zoom interview. It's lovely. Thank you for giving me this wonderful opportunity. Yeah, talking about the midlife. Everyone calls it a crisis. I call it a transition, just like you did rightfully. And in fact, I've been talking to quite a few people because, we generally women go through the same kind of problems, more or less, challenges. And I know that they're calling it the middle essence now, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, mine, I think for women, from my perspective, is probably more to do with your hormones. When you are more sensitive and you feel like the whole world is against you, no one's on your side. And of course, those flushes at night and menopausal phase, then you kind of know there is something not right, and you start to think, I am not like this, and what is this happening to me? Our grandmothers went through it, and we never knew about it. You remember we talked about this. So the more media and there is, and the more. So for me, it wasn't more so much as Joanne, the physical manifestation.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I saw that I was starting to put on weight, but that I felt like I can handle that. And, but I think it was more psychological
Mm-hmm.
manifestation. I wouldn't say that I went into a depression,
Mm-hmm.
because there is this undercurrent of depression in our family, and so I was very conscious that I knew that I didn't want to dip into a dark zone.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Yeah.
but for me, it was that, I'm feeling sorry for myself.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I felt like no one was seeing my viewpoint, so there was a lot of sobbing bouts, and
Yeah.
and I would just then breathe and pick
Yeah.
myself up again and
Yeah.
go like, Minkse, you can do this, we'll get through this together. It's almost as if you have a shadow sister.
Yeah. Yeah. It's true, to help you
Yeah,
along. Mm-hmm.
yeah. And I also think maybe because I just wanted to stay strong and rooted, I didn't necessarily seek any medical help like I know a lot of women do.
Right.
Did I talk to a lot of friends? Not really, maybe a few who
Mm-hmm.
were also going through that. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so that was pretty much for me. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that emotional change, that hormonal change, was challenging for you at that time. How did you? So you said that the mental aspect of it was important for you to kind of keep control of that and not let that get too far away from you. And how did you get through that stage? Was it just a matter of waiting for your hormones, or?
Yeah. Well, I also think that I was very blessed at that time because I had two wonderful mentors in my life, and that always helps, doesn't it? Your
Yes.
anchors.
Yes.
And it coincided with the fact that they were in my life at that time. So I had a very pious, in India, we call them Swami.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Swami. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that word,
Mm-hmm.
but very, very religious, very spiritual leaders. And his name is actually, but he's obviously passed the other real, Swami Dayanand Saraswati ji, and he's a great exponent of Vedanta and Advaita, which also talks about reconnecting with your source and your light.
Mm-hmm.
And every time I had the smallest problem, it's just Joanne. Every single problem, when you look back now, when I rode over those waves, ugly waves, and I'm out of it.
Yeah.
I look back at smallest issues like, I live here in India, and my husband's mother stays with us. So my mother-in-law is a very trying and challenging person. And all of a sudden, the smallest issue she created became so big, and I didn't even know how to handle it. So this wonderful Swamiji, it was really good. I could talk to him. And then again, there was this wonderful a lady called Phyllis Krystal, who teaches cutting the ties that bind. She's American Swiss, and she packed her own suitcase and she came back to India to teach about 300 of us at the age of 100. So I've been
100. Wow.
Yes. Again, she has left Earth at the age of 102. But, I had the privilege of being the one going and picking her up from the airport, making her hotel arrangements. I would take her shopping at that wonderful age of 100. And she also showed me that you can't hang your boots because at 100, for the seminar, she said, Minkku, but I need to do my hair. So I had this beautician come to the room to do her hair. And she looked so cute in the wheelchair. And, I'm very fortunate to have probably regaining my spirit, seeing all these wonderful people in my life. So yeah, like I said, no medication, but it was just timely help. Just what I needed.
Yeah. Having, that's so true. Having that kind of emotional support and having those role models makes such a big difference. It gives you hope that you can get through it.
Yes, it gives you hope. And it also, there's this cute incident which has become like a joke in our family. So I have 2 children and they're both in Australia. My daughter's 27, my son's 30. And so this crisis, so-called middle sense, I went through this almost 4 or 5 years ago. And they used to come visit me every year. And so we were, and I'm not sure, I think I shared the story with you, but we were sitting, watching movies at midnight. And I just felt like people around me at that time need to do things for me. I felt very important, self-inflicted importance. And I just thought, everyone needs to jump when I tell them to jump. And I just said to them, I said, you know what, very confidently, Mommy would love a hot cup of chocolate. And none of them moved. And they said, Mom, can you just go get it yourself? Oh my God, Joanne, this was such a big deal. And this is just an example to show how fragile our egos and we, psychosomatically become. And this became such an issue for me for the next 24 hours. And I said, oh, they don't love me. They'll never be there for me and blah, blah, blah. And the next morning, again, late night, now it's 3 a.m. We've just finished the in the home theater, and we all convene in the kitchen. And I just said, you know what, Mommy's very sad. And, that's the one thing we all women need to do is to express ourselves.
Yes, that is true.
Don't you agree?
I do. It's very true.
Yeah,
we bottle it all up and we hold it.
Don't bottle it up because any bottle. That's what the science and the medical history is. Bottling of emotions leads to chronic diseases and cancer and what have you. So I'm always been a believer of express yourself. And if you can't express yourself, what I found as a wonderful, wonderful thing that I used to do is write my emotions down on a piece of paper and then tear it or have the pleasure of holding it and burning it. So anyway, so my children actually next morning reassured me and said, Mom, if there is a serious crisis, we will be on the first plane from Australia to India. And, that was met with another boo by me. It was a boo session before, and now there was a bigger one.
Oh, that's funny, Minkku.
So anyway, yeah. So I think you have to reach out for help is what I would really say to another sister who's going through this crisis. And then just stick it out, write it down, or
Yeah. It's funny, isn't it? The stories that we tell ourselves, right? In that moment, that story that came to you was, oh, my kids, I thought they loved me, but they can't even get up and get me a cup of hot chocolate. What does that mean? And this one was a rather lighthearted one. Probably didn't feel that way in the moment, but as you look back on it, it was. But you know, in so many other kinds of experiences, we tell ourselves stories that really are not true at all. But because we think they are, they affect our actions and the choices that we make. And I think that's, you know, that's a very difficult thing for all of us, men or women.
Yes,
To sort through
I think
those
so.
stories.
Yeah, but so correct me if I'm wrong, Joanne. And you know, you are you know, obviously a master. You've been dealing and talking to people about midlife crisis or middle sense.
Uh-huh.
You know, is this like supposedly between what the ages of 54 and 65 or 44 and 65?
It depends on the person. Some people can go through menopause as early as their late 30s. You know, it's
Oh,
odd, but
yeah.
certainly, you know, it can happen in your mid to late 40s. It just depends. I think, you know, some women have the symptoms are pretty light and they don't have the physical manifestations, you know, the hot flashes and things like that. And maybe not so much the mood swings. And so they don't even, you know, they're lucky they don't notice that much, right? But for others, it can be much more significant. It just depends. So, you
Yeah.
know, not being any kind of a medical doctor, I can't say, but I think there's a broad range in it, and it is very unique to the individual.
You know, I was hearing this life coach who talks a lot about midlife crisis, and
Mhm.
um, uh, I think her name is Barbara Baxman,
Mhm.
and you know, she's pretty popular out in the U.S. and you know, she talks about and really made a lot of sense to me that it's actually when you say it's midlife crisis is probably what you were rightly saying, a very dramatic word.
Mhm.
It's more of a stress, uh, collective stress.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, it's
it's
true.
more of you know, various reasons you starting to put on weight, for women at least, you know,
Mhm.
and then you know, there's these emotions that maybe you've not achieved enough in life,
Yeah.
or you look at your knees and I'm sorry, I'm not sure I'm allowed to say this, but then you find your breasts are reaching your knees
Yes, I know. I know.
all of a sudden.
Like, what happened to my body?
And you hate gravity from the word G.
Yeah.
Um, and also I think this is also when kids have left home a lot of times.
Hmm.
There is this empty nester feeling.
Hmm. Yeah.
So I think if you anticipate and then you are prepared that all these factors, and it's not like the men don't go through it, because it's exactly around that time a lot of men are, you know, saying, okay, now this is it, we're retiring, and then they go through those midlife crisis and go like, um, you know, now what do we do? And
Yeah.
you know, I am quite sure the grumpy old man
Comes from that.
the word came up right after he put, you know, hung his boots up in midlife crisis. But you know what I find, Joanne, that
Mm.
once we ride through this wave, don't you agree that a woman actually can feel a lot more empowered,
Yes. Yes. It's very
right?
true. Hmm.
Because you know, I right now I just feel so happy, so content on where I am. I was never technologically savvy, but you know, here I am on Zoom with you.
That's right.
So I think there's always a time to explore, because the kids would have left home, and so we need to take these opportunities to maybe go on solo holidays,
Yeah.
travel alone, you know.
Hmm.
There's wonderful groups out there. So rather than immerse ourselves into our miseries, I think it's great to just say, let's do something we've never done before.
Exactly. It is an opportunity. I think so many women, society has painted the concept of midlife as that kind of like over the hill, like everything's going downhill. And you don't have a lot left to look forward to. But that's so different now. I mean, it can be so different if you choose to make that choice, because for one thing, we're healthier at this point in our lives than past generations. We have a longer life in front of us, and there are so many opportunities to do new and interesting things. And rather than focus on, the change and the fact that your kids are gone and you're alone and all of those things, if you look at it as that opportunity to try something new without worrying about what those consequences are, that you really do develop a sense of strength about yourself, and that makes such a big difference.
It's we just I know it's really hard, and then if someone had said to me, stop playing the victim role while I was going through that,
Right.
I would not have been able to relate to it, and I would have just looked back and said, who victim, which victim?
Right. What are you talking about? Who are you talking about?
Who are you talking about? But I think just a lot of awareness that these are the emotions that you can go through. It helps you sail. Probably, your boat's still going to be a little rocky, but at least it'll help you sail through.
Yeah, it'll help you get out to the other side of that storm. And then, like you say, when you look back, you think, I did that. I got through that. And, you learn a lot of things, right? When you're faced with those kinds of challenges. And it does strengthen your confidence in your ability to weather whatever life throws at you, really.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's almost like hiking. I was in Sikkim. I've just come back from Sikkim, and I am on this completely such a high in life. We were coming back we touched 18,000 feet, and then, we were descending down to 12,000 or 9,000 to where our hotel was. And then I just spotted this very deserted path, rocky path. And then I just it was, my husband and my daughter with me. And I just said, just wait. I just, it'll be so nice to go and see this random path. Where is it leading to? I'm not sure whether they were willing or not willing. I didn't care to acknowledge.
You didn't ask him about that. You just said, come on.
And so we stopped the car, and my daughter and I said, let's just climb this. It was in the mountains I think we had descended to maybe 12,000 feet from 18,000. And it just led to nowhere, and it was climbing up and up the mountain, and we were a little short of breath because of the altitude in the thin air. So my daughter just said, I'm just going to sit down, Mom, at one spot. And I just said, and I would have never done that before, Joanne. And I just said, okay, I'll be right back. And that I lost time, and I kept climbing till I saw the mountain peaks, snow-covered peaks on the other mountain across the valley. And I said, I've climbed so much. And by the time I came back, it was like 1.5 hours, and I hadn't realized. And they were kind of concerned. And I thought it was a little foolishly brave, because then we were told there's leopards and bears in those forests. But just this feeling of, I can do it.
Yeah.
And I can just say that with total confidence that you just need to tide over that midlife, and then life can be, it's like a new, wiser adolescent. You are still doing things with a newly found joy.
Yes.
But with maybe a little bit more wisdom.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. I think by that time, we've experienced so many things. I think we begin to trust ourselves a little more once we get through all that. And
Absolutely.
we learn to listen to our inner advisor, that wise woman in my head, when I'm paying attention can really be very comforting and very helpful.
Yeah,
But
the instincts are stronger.
yes,
Uh,
yes,
you
I
know,
think that's true.
yeah. So I think you start being, I think, the mistress of your own life
Mm-hmm.
once again.
Yeah, yeah. You kind of like when we're young, we think we know everything and we can do everything, right? And then you get to that midlife muddled, like I like to call it, and you're kind of all turned and tossed, and it's all shook up. Your ideas of
Very,
what's right,
very.
how you are in this world, what you're here for. All of those things get kind of shaken up, and um,
You're
you
a
know
martini shaken and stirred.
That's right. That's right. And so, but if you can withstand that, and you can just hold on to the belief that this is for your good, for you to learn and to grow, then
Absolutely.
once you're out on the other side, you're like, okay, that wasn't so bad. You can say that now in hindsight, right? But when you're in the middle of it, it's like, oh, I'm not sure
Yes.
I can do this.
Then again, if you look at if I just quickly think about some of my other friends who've gone through it, and
Mm-hmm.
all the articles you read at that time to say and acknowledge you're not the only one. I would also say that um, women can be very damaging to themselves in that phase,
Yeah.
and damaging to everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
um, you know uh, yeah, and of course the other thing is your sexual drive goes for a toss.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's another thing. Your body's changing, and you're not motivated. So all these things, I think, and then the blame game, the kids don't understand me.
Yeah.
So rather than be damaging, because it's so hard to retrieve
Yes.
or patch up a broken glass.
Yes.
Say if you're unfortunate to be part of a family that doesn't understand you.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's better to find internal ways to deal with it. We talked about, seek help, meditate,
Mm-hmm.
uh, reach out to someone else. Then to take out that, that feeling of frustration and family. I think
Yeah.
that's the other thing we need to, be very, very careful. It's very fragile years,
Yes.
and years can be long. I mean, we're not even talking about weeks and months.
I know it can be long, and you're right. When sometimes you think you feel like you've lost yourself, right? I mean, you're saying things, and you think, who's saying that? Where is that
Absolutely.
person? Because that's not how
That's
I
not
think.
me. That's not
That's
how I
right.
operate.
And yet, it happens, and like you say, it's very difficult to put back together a glass that you shattered with your unkind words and your demeanor. Yeah. I think that's where, if you're fortunate enough to have a close friend or a sibling that is understanding, then trying to direct some of that, at least discussion, to them and not to your
Yes,
children and or your spouse.
they have no idea why you. I heard words like, "That's weird, mom," or my husband would say, "That's so uncalled for."
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
you do have, and I don't think so. I think it. We keep talking about how we women are handling it. I think it becomes like an unspoken allegiance by our families, husbands, children, to also
Mm-hmm.
pick up a book or go on the net and understand what's happening to your mom and wife and
Yeah.
sister.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Yeah. Yes, you know, everyone needs to have some education about what's going on, right? It's not just the woman who's experiencing it, but if her family can have some understanding, and hopefully that will generate some compassion for the
Compassion.
struggles that you're
Yeah.
going through,
Yeah.
you know, that would be a good thing as well. Yeah,
That's true. That's
it's
true. Yeah.
tough.
Yeah.
Well, now that you are happily and successfully through that storm and out on the other side, what does the world look like for you these days, Minkku?
Sorry, what does?
What does the world look like for you?
Oh, I just feel sincerely that I have many, many miles before I sleep. I, at WEF, the germination of the book I want to write happened.
Ah,
And it was really nice. I found the subject that I want to write on. And I also have my first 2 contributors already.
oh, can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's absolutely, Joanne. It's going to be a book on solo women travelers of India.
Oh, I love traveling. That sounds really great. So,
So we will start with the India episode, and then we'll move on to the world travelers,
mhm,
because I think there's stories to be told.
yes.
And I am also going to be working into manifesting
Mm,
um, a beautiful, serene, holistic, floating healing space.
hmm, hmm. Tell me about that. When you say floating, do you mean?
Floating means it will move from country to country, and
Okay.
it's just a word that comes to me right now
Uh-huh.
because it needs to get a little bit more structured.
Right.
But I just think, yes, these are all things that I want to do. I want to be able to give back to this
Mm-hmm.
universe. That's how I'm wired.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And always have been. And I think there's a lot of people out there, a lot of women, men who are looking. Um, uh, Either they have emotional blocks, or maybe they're going through midlife crisis, what we're
Mm-hmm.
talking about, or they just need to cut away for a little bit of time from their mundane surroundings. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
they need time to find themselves. So I'm thinking it would be wonderful if I could provide them a space, a retreat, maybe 2 weeks, 10 days.
Mm-hmm.
I don't
Mm-hmm.
know. So yeah, I would love to be able to contribute and help.
Wow. That's so exciting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very, very, very. So it's looking good so far. Um, just need to be focused.
Mm-hmm. Just kind of
I
flesh
have
out the
this.
details.
Yeah, I have this very. I have this. And this is the other found. I think after you've gone through midlife, you find that you so easily are able to express your downfalls,
Mm.
and your not so strong traits that you always hide behind. And you're not able to talk about them. Then all of a sudden you feel like you can talk about them so openly. So
Mm-hmm.
I have always had a problem saying no
Mm. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
to various things. Uh, some of them which are very exhausting. And I would even sit till 4 a.m. trying to write scripts for people who, and these things are really nice to help. And I'm not saying I would stop doing all that, but um, I just think it'd be nice to focus on just some things and uh, take back my sacred space for myself.
Yes.
I think
Yeah.
that's probably the way I can put it.
Yes, that makes a lot of sense to me, Minkku. I think we women in general, we're the nurturers. It's our nature to want to give and to help and to support, and it's very difficult to say no, to draw that boundary and say, this is how much I can give, and then I need to save some for myself.
Absolutely.
And I think that you're right. You get to a certain point and you realize, I am not at my best when I am so empty because I've given so much away. I
Yes.
need to be able to, you have to refresh yourself, right? And
Yeah,
so,
yeah, it's the smallest example. When someone's called you in the morning and said, tomorrow, could you help us MC this program that
mhm.
we are going to hog all the limelight?
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
And I was like, uh, gullible, and I would just say, yeah, I'm happy to do that from behind stage. Yes, I will write the script for you. And
Mm-hmm.
what do? I work till 3 and 4 a.m. and write it, and
Yeah.
I help someone shine.
Yes.
And and then need to sleep in, and I've missed my yoga class. Things like those.
Yeah.
Just need to refocus on myself a little bit
Mm-hmm.
more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um, and I think after all these years, you're entitled to it.
Yes. Yes. We, for a variety of reasons, I think women are, we're counseled that to do things for ourselves is selfish, right?
I
I
was just going
think,
to use the word and I
yeah,
refrained.
yeah.
Yes.
But we're, we allow ourselves to feel guilty over that. And it's really,
Yes.
I say, it's really not selfish. It's really self-care. It's about survival for
Yes.
ourselves.
Yes. And
And
replenishing yourself. Yeah.
yes, yes, exactly. And it's difficult to say no, and I think as you grow older, you become stronger because you realize that it's the only way you're going to stay healthy yourself, to be able to set those boundaries and say, this is how much I have to give and this I need to keep.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. Yes.
yeah,
Oh, yeah. So that
yeah.
that I'm glad I'm doing that in bits and pieces for myself.
Mm-hmm.
I think, never not give. It's in
Yes,
my nature, to just be giving, but then, choose wisely.
yes, yes. Uh-huh. Yeah, that like you say, being focused, understanding what your priorities are, what are important to you in
Absolutely.
terms of how you
Yes.
spend your time and
Yes.
how you give, instead of being kind of randomly pulled here and there on someone else's schedule at someone else's need. um
Yes. Yes. I think, exactly, Joanne. I think it's really a good feeling. Um, it's a feeling of liberation.
it is, yeah.
Yeah. To
And
be,
sometimes the people around you have to learn to adjust, which can be challenging.
yes. And then again, now they go like, oh my God, here she goes. We don't understand her anymore.
Who is this mom? Who is this
Who
person?
is
What happened to
it?
my mom?
We thought, yeah. But I think when it comes to, children and a husband, that we kind of we balance all our lives, and that's
Yeah.
fine. I come more, from a point of view of, say, outsiders.
Yes. Yes.
Your Not even your core circle, just your outer circle.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's nice. And uh, time, respecting your own time,
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what it comes to.
Yeah.
And you respect it, others, respect it too.
Mm-hmm.
So
It's true.
yeah, yeah.
Um, we get to this stage in life and we realize that, well, we don't have forever, right? We have our lives are finite, even though we prefer to think that they're not. And
Yeah.
and your time becomes more precious to you, and you want to use it in a way that fulfills the highest good. And
Absolutely.
so sometimes, and you're right, your inner circle, your family and your close friends, because they love you so much, they grow with you, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it is often the case that that outer circle, that you've attracted through a variety of ways, kind of gets
Yeah,
sorted
because we're
through.
social beings. We're all working on a path of social growth. We use different growth accelerators to, spun us. Something comes to my mind, Joanne, is, if I can share that with you.
Mhm.
Um, also about how we should really tackle life. You know, last night I was on a call to my sister who lives in Syracuse, upstate North New York.
Mm-hmm.
And I was talking to her, and she is fourth stage cancer.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's really sad. She has leiomyosarcoma, which is a very rare case of cancer.
Mm.
Um, and it just comes to me because I was talking to her, and she, um, we were talking about how we should do what we want to do when we want to do, and she was telling me, she says, Minku, just do it. Whatever comes to your mind, do it. Now she brought it up. She said, do you remember that when she didn't have cancer, but 10 years ago,
Mm.
she actually had she was in Switzerland,
Mm.
passing through on the way to UK, and she'd especially stopped and just gone and sat in one of those peaks and had a beer by herself. And she said, today I'm lying on bed.
Mm. Yeah.
I'm lying on bed, not being able to even fetch a
Right.
glass of water for myself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's really sad because she's there on her own. Her husband's back in India. And she goes, I was sitting there, I climbed that peak and had my beer, and today I can't even fetch a glass of water from the kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
So this was her message to me. She says, just do what you want to do when you want to do, because life is so short.
Mm-hmm.
And when your limbs are still moving and you're blessed with health,
Mm-hmm.
and that's your wealth.
Yes. Yes. It's so true. We think that every day will be like the last, but in truth, we don't know what tomorrow will bring us. And it's only,
Yes.
it can be just a split second that things change tremendously.
Yeah.
That phone call from the doctor, you're driving
Exactly.
the car and you turn your head at the wrong moment.
Absolutely. So I think it's very important to, and there's one mantra that I live with is that if this is your last moment, are you baggage free?
Yeah. Yeah.
Are you baggage free? Because
I like that.
yeah, then if you're not, then you really, really need to work on it, because I mean, in Indian mythologies, the way we are brought up, um, we believe in life after death. I'm not sure, if you do out there, but they always say that, finish what you have to.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to forgive, be in gratitude, do all that you so desire, because these collective desires then get manifested in your DNA, and then you come back in another life
Mm-hmm.
to fulfill.
Mm-hmm.
So
Right.
everything that you need to do is tied in with what we're speaking. Just
Mm-hmm.
go and do it.
Yeah.
Forgive, be in gratitude. So I think these are beautiful qualities, and I feel that if I had to leave this moment, I think I'm baggage free. I don't know, but that's what I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's so true, to be able to not have regrets, to feel that you have done all the things and told people all the good things that you need to tell them, and forgiven and released those other things. It takes a load off your soul when you know that those things are taken care of.
Yes, completely. Especially resentment, holding on to,
Mm.
uh, yeah. I think it's beautiful and liberating if you can do that. It's quite a journey. It's quite a walk
Yeah.
to walk towards it. But
Yes.
just thinking about it makes one happy that it is achievable, and to whatever extent, we are humans after all.
Yes, that's true. And we're not saints. It's not like we have a halo on our heads, but
So
it's
I
it's the effort and the
it's
intention.
just level best and let everything else, whoever's watching over us, look after us after that.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. There's only so much, but we can set our intentions and strive to do the best that we can, and that's all we can do.
I love this, Joanne. I love how from midlife we've gone into
That's right. Now we're just so wise with our new knowledge.
words of wisdom for the world. Yay!
Oh, well, Minkse, I've really enjoyed having a chance to talk with you again. It was great meeting you at the forum.
Thank you.
And,
Likewise.
I love the opportunity to be able to talk with you and have you share your wisdom and your experiences and what you've learned. It's been a lot of fun, but it's also been very helpful to women in our audience because
I'm glad.
Just like you had those mentors that helped you move through that difficult time, hopefully seeing some of these interviews and hearing how other women have worked through that will be helpful to them too. So I really want to thank you.
Thank you, Joanne, for letting me be on this interview with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, Minkse, I want you to, let's see, it's evening for you, right? So have a great rest of your day.
Yes. And you have a good morning when you're a little bit more awake.
All right. Thank you, Minkse. Bye-bye.
Bye now.
I hope you enjoyed our conversation today. As a thank you for being here, I'd like to offer you my glorious second act workbook and planner. It's a great tool to help you gain clarity on what it is you want next in your life and to create a plan to get you there. It's a totally free gift. The link is down below, so click the link, download your planner, and get started, taking action and creating a new and exciting second half to your life. I'm Joanne Kobike, your midlife coach. Stop by again for another episode of Modern Midlife. See you next time. I hope you enjoyed our conversation today. As a thank you for being here, I'd like to offer you my glorious second act workbook and planner. It's a great tool to help you gain clarity on what it is you want next in your life and to create a plan to get you there. It's a totally free gift. The link is down below, so click the link, download your planner, and get started, taking action and creating a new and exciting second half to your life. I'm Joanne Kobike, your midlife coach. Stop by again for another episode of Modern Midlife. See you next time.